So very good afternoon to you. It is 2025 and it's our first opportunity to speak to Spencer Oliver. Very happy new year to you, mate.
Happy New Year, Sam. Happy New Year, Alex. How you both doing?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Looking forward to a big year of boxing. And after the year when two British heavyweights, Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, were knocked out of the championship title picture, we finally now, I think, look on collision course for the behemoths to face each other in 2025. Will it actually happen this time around?
I think we've got more chance of this happening now that they've both lost to than we've ever had before, if I'm totally honest, because where do they both go now? Alexander Usyk beat Tyson Fury twice last year. Anthony Joshua got beat by Daniel Dubois in September at Wembley Stadium. So you go, it makes sense that they now both fight, no titles on the line, but both fight to keep their careers alive.
In terms of the other big fights, February 22nd, Daniel Dubois and Parker go to war again, a major card in Riyadh, arguably the most stacked card we've ever seen, which includes the rematch between Beterbiev and Dimitri Bivol as well. Do you think this could be a pivotal year for boxing?
Absolutely, Sam. I think that, it's a changing of the times with the involvement of Saudi Arabia and Riyadh season. We're getting the cards that we've never seen before, not just happening in Saudi Arabia, but happening all over the world. And I think we go to China. I think we go to Africa. I think we're going to see it in Australia as well. But we are getting the best, fighting the best now. And, the politics have been taken away from the sport with different titles and pay-per-view cuts, etc. And it's all happening. I mean, that card that you mentioned there, February the 22nd, out in Saudi, topped by Artur Beterbiev and Dimitri Bivol in that return for the undisputed light heavyweight championship. What a card that is. I mean, to give you a feeling for how big this card is, at the bottom of the bill is Joshua Buatsi versus Callum Smith for a interim world title. I mean, that tells you the extent of the card. Zhele Zhang, Shakur Stevenson, Virgil Ortiz, Carlos Adamos versus Hamza Shiraz, Daniel Dubois, Joseph Parker. I mean, it's an incredible card. It is a changing of the times, and I think that boxing is moving forward at a rapid rate.
And in terms of being able to sell that card, obviously, you've mentioned it there. It's such a stacked card, February 22nd. Everybody who is gunning for something is fighting pretty much on that card in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. Why then do we still get obsessed with Joshua and Tyson Fury, bearing in mind that they are two, former heavyweight champions that are on their way down rather than way up?
Well, I think that the heavyweight title is the pinnacle of sport, not just boxing. And I think that, Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury have been two huge characters, in the heavyweight division for a long, long time. And yeah, there is a changing of the times now, changing of the baton, if you like. We've got the young ones emerging, coming through. We saw what Daniel Dubois done to Anthony Joshua in September. He put himself up there as one of the leading heavyweights. Now he goes in against Joseph Parker, who's only 31 years of age still himself. He's coming into his own now. And we've got like younger Moses Atoma coming through. The heavyweight boxing is the pinnacle of sport. And I think that Tyson Fury is still a huge fight. Probably the biggest fight in boxing still.
Spence, one of the other fights we talk about a lot is Conor Benn against Eubank Jr. Where are we at with that? Is the purse and how that's going to be distributed still an issue?
Well, I think there was a dispute over who was going to get what. I think that Conor Benn wanted a 50-50 split on the purses. And I think that Eubank Jr. said, no, listen, 55-45, that's where it's at now. After what had happened and the last fight being cancelled, etc. I think we do get it over the line. I think it happens. And I think it happens probably at the end of March, beginning of April. That's what I'm hearing. But I think at the moment it's just a dispute over the purse splits.
Again, though, it's not the kind of top level fight that you would hope to see, yet it garners a huge amount of interest, doesn't it? And that's to do with personalities, that's to do with history, because really, someone's got to go up or come down in terms of weight as well. They're not exactly perfectly matched, are they, from a weight category?
No, they're not. But I think we live in a world and in a time where Eubank versus Benn is a huge, huge fight. They're their father's sons. And we remember, what great fighters they were back in the 90s. And I think it's a fight that everyone's wanted to see. And I also think the controversy surrounding this fight now with Conor Benn, failing 2 drugs tests and now being cleared to fight, I think it makes it even more interesting. Conor Benn is going to have to move up in weight. Eubank Jr., is there and has been looking for a world title shot. It's either that or the Conor Benn fight. But there's a huge interest there, a huge intrigue, because strictly because of the names.
How do you look back on 2024 for boxing, Spence? Obviously, we saw a lot of interest in the fights taking place in Saudi Arabia. Are we going to see a lot more of that in 2025?
Yeah, of course we are. I think, as I said before, this card that we've got on February the 22nd is absolutely huge, and I think that's just a way of the times moving forward. These are the fights that we are now going to get, the cards that we're now going to get. I think we've been spoiled over the last 12 months with the cards that we've been getting out there. But as I said, guys, I'm hearing strong rumours that these shows will be going on the road and they will be going globally. We will see it in Africa. We will see it in Australia. So, the fans are going to get a chance to see these huge shows, from wherever they're from.
And that's good. But the boxing hotbeds of Las Vegas, Madison Square Gardens and the UK, are we still going to get big fights happening in those places too?
Yeah, I think we are. I mean, you mentioned one there, didn't you? Conor Benn and Eubank Jr. I think that fight happens in. I'm hearing that could possibly be Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, somewhere like that. So we're going to still get these big cards. Of course we are. But I think that for the boxing fan, the guys that don't even go to the shows anyway and like to watch it on the TV, I mean, watching stacked cards like they've got on February the 22nd is a win-win for everyone.
What about the atmosphere over in Saudi Arabia, Spence? Because, again, we watched the Usyk Fury fight and there were people on our WhatsApp chat suggesting that it was still a bit diluted in terms of that atmosphere. Is that improving at all?
Mate, I'm glad you brought that up, actually, because that's been the big talking point around Saudi Arabia and boxing, getting introduced to Saudi. And obviously, there's no alcohol involved out there. So, levels are genuinely lower anyway. And there's been a criticism about the atmosphere. But I've got to tell you, Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk, when I was out there, December the 21st, the atmosphere was insane. The weigh-ins were packed. The atmosphere, there was a real party atmosphere out there. People were appreciating what we got. It was a huge change for me from the previous shows that I've seen out in Saudi Arabia. So, yeah, I think a massive change in the atmosphere on that last one for sure.
Okay. Thank you very much, Spence. Good luck for the rest of 2025. Lovely to see you. We look forward to more big events and big moments and sharing them with you wherever you end up being in the world, because we know you're a bit of a globetrotter now. Apparently, they're telling me they're changing the British Airways loyalty point system, so you may have to update your card or might start flying with somebody else, all right?
Well, I'll tell you what, he's still looking pretty sun-kissed, isn't he, from his last trip? Look at that.
Look at him. He looks great. He always looks $1 million. Spencer, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Spencer Oliver, a big fight pundit, joining us live on talkSPORT to talk about 2025 in boxing.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.